There we go. Yes, boys, how we doing? Today's video, how to grow your chest as effectively as possible. Now, I am someone who is fortunate, as I'm sure you have seen in the thumbnail, or if you follow me on Instagram, with the chest genetics. I feel like I have developed a very, very good chest so far, and we are only getting started. So I feel qualified to provide some very, very useful tips here to help you out with building your chest. And I'm gonna keep this no BS, get straight to the point, and just give you 5 valuable pieces of information that you can use and implement today with the physique. So you go away from this video learning how to build an unbelievable chest. So, in no particular order, we will get into number 1. The first thing I would recommend is when programming your chest movements, implement more barbell and more machine work. Remove the dumbbells. Why? Because you may have heard from the average lifter, oh, dumbbell benches is so much more better than flat bench. The reason why is because we converge inwards, which is a valid argument. If you can converge inwards, amazing. However, there are machines that do the same thing. So what is the key difference between the machine and the barbells and a dumbbell? Well, I'll tell you right now. I personally got at the peak of my surplus to around 44 kilogram incline bench. All right, pretty respectful lift. I'll try and get a clip up there. Now, the only problem with this was I couldn't quite get past it. I could get 6 reps and I couldn't really get more after that. It just became a vicious cycle, and I was going back down to 42 to try and improve the form and all of this. And then it finally hit me. I realised that from going from 44 to 46, I was making such a big jump. I was making a jump of 4 kilograms, which I couldn't make smaller. At the end of the day, there was not smaller dumbbells. I didn't have access to those. So the movement that I was doing was just stupid. I was having to increase by 4 kilograms every lift, and you can get away with that at the start, but eventually when you're trying to progress further, it becomes very, very difficult. So you come onto the plated exercises on a barbell or a machine, it becomes very, very different. Why? Because every single gym has access to 1.25 kilogram plates, which means I can now change that increment from 4 kilogram to 2.5, which means there's a high likelihood that I can progress my lift with those small increments, which allows me to get stronger faster. If for whatever reason that I cannot do 2.5 kilogram, well, I've got 0.5 kilogram plates as well. I slowly do that, and just having machine work and cable work and barbell work in your plan is just going to make sure that you have a very, very solid and sustainable progression structure, whereas just climbing the dumbbells isn't, in my opinion, the best play. And at the end of the day, the barbell bench press is a fucking great movement. I don't care what anyone says. At the end of the day, if you can bench 140 kilogram, your chest is going to be massive. So think of it that way. All right, you get 2 birds, 1 stone. You get to bench more, and you get to actually realize that you make faster progress with a bench. Why? Because you get stronger than you do on a dumbbell. The dumbbell feels better. I agree with it, but you can't get strong as quick. So the barbell is better. So bench more, and I understand that rationale. Second of all, we've got isolations pre-pressing. Sounds weird, I know, and I'll give you two reasons why this is important. So the reasons we do isolations before any sort of compound movement is because we can actually get a lot of blood flow into the muscle that we're trying to target, and what this does is then allows for a much better mind to muscle connection, and a pretty much guarantee that we are targeting said muscle when we're in the compound and not over compensating with other muscle groups as a result. Now I'll give you a perfect example. If you're someone who's tall, 6 foot perhaps or more, it doesn't apply to me, but it applies to clients who I've worked with and fixed their situation. If you're struggling to grow your chest, do you know another reason why? It's because your arms are longer, and as a result, it is more favourable for your body to essentially use your shoulders and your triceps to navigate a chest press, an incline or whatever, and as a result, your chest doesn't get targeted as much. Your shoulders and triceps take the brunt of the work. So what do you do to actually combat this? Well, you start your sessions with a pec fly. You take that to complete failure. Now the chest has a lot of blood flow. Why? Because we've targeted with an isolation. So when you go into the compound and you train to complete failure, you know that the reason why you will fail is because your chest has been taken to failure. Why? Because that is the lagging muscle group. The triceps and shoulders have not been trained. The reason why is because you pre-exhausted the chest. So if you fail on that movement, you have full confidence knowing that it was your chest that failed. So if you're a taller guy and you're struggling to grow your chest, there's a solution for you. But this also applies to anyone who actually wants to grow their chest faster from a hypertrophy and looks perspective. If you're wanting to get the best bang for your buck, and if you're struggling with really connecting and really feeling your chest on perhaps the bench press, on a few machines, then either doing some light activation work on a cable fly and then going into this compound can be very useful, or just starting off with your pec deck or your cable flies to begin with and taking them to complete failure and then going into your presses. You've got to understand the press might be a little bit lower in weight, but the return on investment, the output that you're getting from that is going to be insane. So it's a small trade-off, but at the end of the day, if you clicked on this video, you wanted to look bigger, you wanted to build a bigger chest, so why would you not? Simple as that. And that's something that you have to realise with time. I've got a goal when I get back into this surplus to get my bench to 140 kilogram. Therefore, it does not make sense for me to be doing pec deck before my bench press. However, if I just wanted to grow the biggest chest possible, I would put pec deck before my bench press. But I'm happy to sacrifice some aesthetics, some look ever so slightly if I need to hit the 140 kg bench, because that is more important to me. So you have to tailor it to your goal, but that's the rationale as to why I would do things. If you don't really care about how much you can lift and your ego, and you just care about looking good, then put your pec deck at the start of a session, take that to complete failure with complete control, and then watch how your presses feel. The same goes for any sort of shoulder movement. I would always do your lateral raises first, get a lot of blood flow into the medial delt, and then when you go into your presses, you'll notice that both the front and medial delt will have a lot of blood in there, so the mind-to-muscle connection will be a lot better, and that will just result in a much better contraction. A lot of this can't be explained, you just have to try it. Go away and try it, and then come back to me and comment, "Fucking hell, Gabriel, you know what you're talking about. How's he so good?" And this is just something that I've learned over time. So implement this and this will change again. Now, when it comes to hypertrophy, tip number 3, when it comes to growing your chest, what's the next mistake people make? Well, they don't understand time under tension. I just don't get it. People just fucking bang, bang, bang. Just move the weight from A to B, but no real rationale and thinking as to how the weight actually goes from A to B. I want you to stop thinking about your sets and your reps in terms of how many reps and so on and so forth, but actually how long your sets take. Because if you're doing this right and you do 10 sets, watch this. So this is a guy who picks up the bar, he eats it, and he comes down. There he goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? If he does 10 reps, his set will probably be 15 seconds, okay? That he's put his chest under stress for. See where I'm getting with this? Wait for it. Now what if the guy was actually smart? He dropped the weight a little bit, and he did this. He racked it off and he went 5-6 seconds a rep. So his 10 reps are now 60 seconds. He has put his chest under 6 times more stress than the guy who was just fucking bang, bang, bang seconds. Do you see what I mean now about time under tension? Do you see why slowing down and actually controlling the weight, not letting the weight control you, is massive? And this applies to everything. Just slow everything down. If you're doing it far, just do it as slow as possible. When you're racking the barbell off the bench, just literally try and fight gravity. Like imagine the bar's coming down and you're like trying to push it up as it's coming down. So you're controlling it. Fuck the weight. Don't let the weight fuck you. And if you take everything really slowly and you really control it, you're going to put your chest under more tension, more stress, and the more you can do that, the more blood flow you're going to get into muscle, the more you're likely you're going to break that muscle. And I'm not saying do it with really light weight. I'm just saying get this foundation right and then start to add weight. Because anyone can just stick a bunch of weight on and move it like that and think they're sick, but at the end of the day, there comes a level of maturity when you realise, right, I'm here to grow my chest, not fucking impress people lifting a bunch of weight and still looking shit. Do you know what I mean? Because I could lift some insane weight if I wanted to, but realistically I just fucking choose to look good, because that's what my goal is for. I want to look massive. So there's a fine line, and understanding time under tension is key. If you are not taking 6 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds per rep, then you are doing something wrong, and that is likely with every single rep. So if you can take away one thing from this video, understand that. Now, 4th thing, at the end of the day, when it comes to any sort of muscle, we're not going to be building much if we're not in surplus. So if you are someone who is carrying a lot of body fat and it's important for you to get rid of that. Go get yourself in a deficit, but don't expect to build your chest whilst you're down, your body fat. You got to get in and out of that deficit. And then once you finish that deficit, you slowly reverse into a lean surplus. You learn from your mistakes and you make sure that you pack on the calories in a crazy manner. So you those abs that you've worked hard to complete, and you stay in that surplus for as long as possible. And when you stay in that surplus, you'll find that it then becomes to grow more muscle and get stronger. Why? Simply you have more carbohydrate in the system, which means you have more energy, which means you can lift more, and as a result you can get stronger and bigger quicker. It is really, really simple. But most people just dance in the grave. They sit in fucking no man's land. They're like, oh, should I bulk? Should I cut? What everyone wants to do is build muscle. So you should be always pretty much, quote unquote, bulking. Okay, and cleaning up very, very, very short amounts of time when you need to remove body fat. But at the end of the day, the reason you're getting lean is to get yourself back in a position to bulk. So you need to understand, if you ain't in the surplus, you're not going to be growing your chest as much. So it's all about the setup. If you're not lean now, go and get lean. Go and get sub 10% body fat. And then you're now got in a position to start gaining. Because if you're at 15% body fat, and you go into sort of, what I'm saying, go into a surplus, yeah, you've got a muscle, but you grow a lot of fat as well. And then you'll probably rush the cut as a result because you don't like the way you look. And then consequently, you're going to lose all that muscle. So it's a bit of a difficult one. I say get lean first and go into a surplus, stay in that surplus for as long as possible, and then you'll build a bigger chest. And finally, programming a plan that works for your chest. Well, if your chest is a lagging muscle group, then you should train it first every single session. Simple as that. Like, if you're doing, for example, upper lower, it tends to how you do it. For example, start Monday's upper session with more chest work, and then perhaps Thursday's upper session with more back work, so it's evened out. But if you're someone who has a good back and you're a chest, put chest at the start of everything. You put at the start when you're most fresh, when your highest energy is always going to be the one that grows the most. So doing that is going to be very, very useful. And then really you want a split that allows you to train it twice per week. So a perfect one I just gave you there was upper days per week. That can be 2 days on, 1 day off. So upper, lower, rest. Simple as that. You can also go for push, pull, legs, push and arms, and then posterior chain. Or you could go upper, lower. Whatever it is, train that chest twice, especially if you're natural at the end of the day. Like, realistically, you need the stimulus, and 4 sleeps between your chest sessions is going to be enough recovery, so don't worry too much about that. And just make sure you're taking them to complete failure. You're following all of these tips, and if you do all of these things, I genuinely can't think of more tips to grow your chest, if you will, because those are the best 5 tips that I can possibly think of. And these are things that I implement in my day-to-day, and they have helped me, so I don't see any reason why they shouldn't help you. And as a result, you should come away growing a proper massive chest. This is not rocket science. This is just some extra tips that you're probably overlooking. So if you wanted to build your chest, this is for you. I hope that was useful. Any more questions, do let me know. I'll make another video if I need to on a certain other muscle group, but I hope that was useful. I've got a full day of eating coming out end of the week. That's a rest day calorie, so that'll be a good one. And if you're looking for a little bit of help with the physique and you're wanting to this physique to the next level going into summer, going into the back end of 2025, then please reach out, link in my bio to apply, and I can check if you'll be a good fit and see what we can do with the physique. But other than that, it was useful, guys. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. All the best.